Hello, and welcome to Weird World War, the channel that unearths the most perplexing and often chilling stories from the greatest conflicts in human history. Today, we're not just looking at battles and tactics, but at a phenomenon that blurred the lines between reality and the supernatural, the Angels of Mons. This is a story from the very beginning of World War I, a tale of exhausted, outnumbered British soldiers facing annihilation, who claimed to have been saved by divine intervention. Was it a miracle, mass hysteria, or perhaps a clever piece of wartime propaganda? Let's delve into one of the most enduring mysteries of the Great War, the Battle of Mons, a grim introduction to the war. Our story begins in August 1914, just weeks after the outbreak of World War I. The British Expeditionary Force, or BEF, was relatively small but highly trained, and they found themselves confronting the far larger and better-equipped German First Army near the Belgian city of Mons. The Battle of Mons, fought on August 23, 1914, was the BEF's first major engagement of the war. It was a brutal introduction. The British, despite their incredible courage and skill, were vastly outnumbered and outmanned. They were eventually forced into a desperate retreat, a strategic withdrawal that would become known as the Great Retreat from Mons. The retreat was arduous and filled with close calls. British soldiers, pushed to their absolute limits, fought rearguard actions, suffering heavy casualties as they tried to evade the relentless German pursuit. It was in this crucible of fear, exhaustion, and despair that the legends of the Angels of Mons first began to circulate. The emergence of the legend. Whispers from the front, the initial reports of something extraordinary, began to emerge weeks and months after the battle. Soldiers started sharing accounts, often in hushed tones, of strange phenomena that occurred during the retreat. These accounts varied wildly, but they typically centered around two main themes: ghostly bowmen. Some soldiers reported seeing ethereal figures, resembling medieval archers, who seemed to fire arrows at the advancing Germans, causing them to falter or retreat. This version is often attributed to the bowmen of Agincourt, a reference to an earlier English military victory. Angelic figures. Other, often more widespread, accounts describe luminous angelic figures, sometimes accompanied by a fiery cloud or a host of heavenly warriors, appearing between the British and German lines. These figures were said to have protected the British, blinding the Germans or causing them to hesitate, allowing the BEF to escape. These weren't official reports. They were stories shared among the troops, in letters home, and eventually in newspapers. The legends provided comfort and a sense of divine protection in an otherwise utterly horrific and senseless war. The role of Arthur Mahen and the bowmen. The proliferation of the Angels of Mons story is inextricably linked to Welsh author Arthur Mahen. In September 1914, Mahen, a writer known for his fantastical and supernatural tales, published a short story in the Evening News titled The Bowmen. Mahen's story was a fictional account, inspired by news from the front and patriotic. In it, British soldiers facing overwhelming odds at Mons invoked St. George, and as a result, a host of phantom English archers from the Battle of Agincourt appeared, slaughtering thousands of Germans. Crucially, Mahen intended this to be fiction. However, due to its timing and the receptive mood of the public, many readers took the bowmen as a factual report. People genuinely believed they were reading an eyewitness account. As the story spread, it mixed with existing rumors and oral traditions from soldiers, creating a powerful, self-reinforcing legend. Mahen himself was astonished by the public's reaction and tried to clarify that his story was fictional, but by then, the legend had taken on a life of its own. Propaganda, piety, or psychology. Explaining the phenomena. So, what are the most plausible explanations for the Angels of Mons? Wartime propaganda. The British government and religious organizations quickly recognized the morabusty potential of the story. It provided comfort to a nation reeling from casualties and the grim reality of modern warfare. It suggested divine favor was on their side, strengthening resolve. Mass hysteria and exhaustion. Soldiers at Mons were under unimaginable stress, suffering from extreme fatigue, thirst, and fear. In such conditions, the human mind can play tricks. Distant clouds might appear as figures. The shimmer of heat haze could become a supernatural host. The longing for salvation could easily manifest as a vision. Religious belief. For a deeply religious society, the idea of divine intervention was not far-fetched. Many genuinely believed God was protecting their soldiers. The stories resonated with existing spiritual frameworks and provided a sense of meaning in chaos. Misinterpretation of events. It's also possible that ordinary battlefield phenomena, smoke, fog, strange light, or even tactical blunders by the Germans were simply misinterpreted by exhausted and hopeful soldiers as miraculous events, while there's no concrete evidence of supernatural intervention. The story of the Angels of Mons perfectly illustrates the desperate psychological landscape of World War I. It shows how hope, fear, and a compelling narrative can converge to create a legend that transcends simple fact. The Angels of Mons remains one of the most fascinating and poignant stories from World War I, a testament to the human need for meaning, even amidst the darkest realities of war. Operation Mincemeat, the corpse that fooled Hitler description, uncover one of World War II's most audacious and bizarre espionage operations with Weird World War. In Operation Mincemeat, British intelligence concocted an elaborate plan involving a dead body, fake documents, and a fictional identity to deceive Hitler and the Nazi high command about the upcoming Allied invasion of Sicily. This video details the incredible true story of Major William Martin, the man who never was, and how his watery grave saved thousands of lives. Get ready for a tale of spies, deception, and a truly weird wartime plot.